What a world, Digidrone the Mag, what chopping and screwing it, because today I'm proud to present the birth of Armor Burst, baby. We're going in and we're going to be utilizing all the skills and strengths of what Armor Rush can provide and making it as explosive as we can. Basically, the rule is that we either win quick or we lose quick. But lucky enough, Armors has some pretty good stabilization in regards to his defensive end, but we're really trying to capitalize on that aggression. So if this is a video for you as I go through my ratio, tech and all that good stuff, then stick around and enjoy. And if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, make sure you subscribe and turn the notification bell because I do videos on the reg. So when I was constructing this deck, I was like, right, let's really capitalize on what Armors is particularly good at, especially with the new support. And it's got some nice bit of stickiness. But one thing that we want to really capitalize on is the aggression, the burst turn, and really catch people off guard. Because this deck, it's pretty rogue. I'm not going to lie. It's not going to be topping any regionals. So this is strictly just fun. So I've laid that down right now. So let's go over to the eggs. Eggs, we're rocking 5. Yeah, definitely a drastic change from my usual 4 setting. But we go in with the 4 Magnamon BT11, just because when you have a Tamer out, you're going to be drawing 1. Our main condition here is make sure that we do have a Tamer out. So we're just going to capitalize on that draw. And then lastly, we do wrap up on the 1 Upamon BT1. It's just, if they don't have any sources, you're able to just draw 1. Quite good early game, especially if the opponent is just kind of setting up, try to get their pieces. We can just kind of capitalize on that and get some additional draw, which is going to be helpful for us to just essentially be quicker than them. So that concludes for the eggs. 5 as standard. So going on to the rookies. Rookies, we do run 14. The reason why we run 14 is because after the first time I took Armors to regionals, I am not gonna lie, a brick with Armors is the worst thing this deck can do, and it's just so annoying. You just can't even use the mechanic at that point. So you want to be running a hefty rookie lineup. So let's read it from the top. So we do go in with the 2 starter deck 8 Vmon. We do go in with the BT8 Vmon, which searches obviously our dual colors. The key components of this deck is going to be your jamming V from BT3. Such a powerful card. This, honestly, getting that in raising, you already got your win con right there. And then lastly, we do go in with the BT12 Vmon. So one thing that you notice here is that I've got a lot of searches. Essentially, the reason why I really wanted to utilize that search engine is because you want to be finding your pieces to essentially continue your combo. The thing that's really good with this deck is the fact that it is quite low ceiling, so it means that you can utilize just getting your armors, getting your rookies, and so forth. Ideally, you do want to be getting BT3 Vmon in raising, because this, with jamming, just swinging in with an armor means that if your armor breaks, your check still goes through. So really good for your fire rocket plays. It's crucial that this card is at 4 and is in your raising. So this is why we do obviously have the starter deck 8 V, and we also have the BT12 V, which can also search out this card. This card is definitely the one that you want to be seeing. If you open with this card, you're looking great. Obviously, with the BT8 V, this is going to be searching your dual colors, so that's going to help with your Magnamons, your Magnamon X, all your armors, which are dual colors. It's going to be helpful for you to obviously search those out. And because with the new tools that we do have with our armors, we can obviously, on the new Magnamon, essentially it's got a weird kind of armor purge in a sense that you're able to replay out a Vmon in its source or from hand, which means that you obviously can continue getting the additional pieces for you to essentially pop off on your next turn. So this is the reason why I am running the 14 Vmons, and obviously, you know, most of them are pretty much your searches, but ideally you want to be making sure that you can just search out pieces ready for you to just keep up that momentum. The aim is being really fast with this deck. We're in a meta where it just kind of requires a bit of setup. Granted, if they do open up with the nuts, they open up with the nuts. So, you know, we get that in any deck. But ideally, we can kind of prey on that because our deck is very low ceiling. So going on to the champions. Obviously, like I say, this deck is very low ceiling, so we do run 12 champions. So starting off with the new BT13 Magnamon, which is just sexy all out for sure. We do rock it in with the BT8 Magnamon, which is still the OG, fantastic for unsuspending. Getting additional DP off of armors in trash is always the value. Then for solid text, we do run the Gold Vidramon at 2, and then lastly we do run the Ligemon at 2 there as well. This card is so good and really helps out in terms of adding a bit of stickiness to your whole deck. Because it is a blocker, is similar to BT8, you are able to evo on top of a Vmon for free, as in cost of free, not as free. But if you don't, obviously it's going to cost you 4, which, you know, doesn't really matter in this deck. It is a blocker like I've mentioned, but all turns, if this Digimon was to be removed, you're able to draw one, and then you're able to play a Vmon from your source or from your hand, and obviously that will then trigger its on plays. Good thing to kind of mention with this one, essentially, if it's the digivolved, essentially that won't proc. It has to be the whole stack that is essentially removed from the battle area. So even if this got tucked under a tamer, technically it's still in the battle area, because that's where the tamer sits. It's within the battle area. But if it was anywhere but the battle area and the whole stack is taken out, you are able to get its all turns effect, which really adds a lot of stickiness to the board right here. And we've got some cool combos in regards to the Awakening of the Golden Knight, because you could effectively stack 2 of these Magnamons together, which is pretty awesome, pretty nutty. But then obviously our main one is going to be still the BT8 Magnamon. The reason why is that unsuspend is just so strong, really strong, and helps us essentially continue that aggression, especially if we do have our fire rockets and our other little bit of secret sauce, which is what I like to say, just to really apply going in heavy, and also, you know, enable us to utilize that armor purge if we was going to be deleted. Thing that's really good with this is the fact that when it does get its 2k DP increases per armor in trash, Evo into Magna X just really makes that boy a very, very big body to deal with, especially since it has unlimited kind of blocking capability. Well, redirect, so it doesn't necessarily count as a block. Which is actually quite handy when it comes to like the red hybrid matchup, because effectively they will have to go into Emperor in order to essentially do its pop or swing over it. So this can really help you get to big numbers right there. Obviously the Gold V is just such a good control card, probably stronger than our Ligemon, just because you're able to minus 2k DP off a Digimon, which is going to be good, and that is just non-conditional. But then this next bit is conditional to you having an armor in trash or a blue tamer on the field. You're able to essentially prevent a Digimon who's at 6k DP or less from attacking or blocking till the end of the opponent's turn. And this does carry over if they evo into, say, like an ultimate from their round. It essentially will stop them. So one thing that you can do, if they've got a bit of a wide board, you can obviously pop the rookie, and then if they've got a 6k champion out on the field, effectively you can stun that, which is going to be very helpful for you to once again continue that aggression, especially if you can just kind of go into a Magnamon X off your Awakening the Golden Knight. So very handy tool right here. One thing to note is that it is not a free type, so ideally you do need to get your BT8 Vmon to get the search on this bad boy, or your Davis, which obviously can search a blue Digimon. So really, really good. This deck has such a powerful search capability, and that's what I love. It's all about that consistency. And then obviously our Ligemon is still handy, more for our Davis Ken play. If we can obviously get our Davis and Ken set up in the back, and then just evo into Ligemon in the back there as well, it means that we're going to be netting up so much memory in order for us to pop off. And that is the thing with this deck. It's all about that armor burst going in and absolutely just swinging blindly and just crashing into whatever comes at our face, really. So that concludes for the champions. Like I say, we do run 12, very consistent, very nice right there. Then going on to the ultimates. Ultimates is pretty short and sweet. We just go in with the 2 Shakumon. Shakumon is very nice in this deck just because we do run a lot of yellow and blue sources, source Digimon. Well, not source, but, you know, blue and yellow Digimon, which this can just capitalize on, get that nice little DNA play, which is sick. Helps us recover, which is absolutely great. Granted, it can only recover if you are at 5 or less, so effectively the highest you can only go at this point is going to be 6, but its actual second effect, if DNA'd, is that you're able to bounce a Digimon at a level which reflects your security. So obviously if you've got 5 security, you can bounce level 5. If you have 6 security, you can bounce level 6. 9 times out of 10, you probably not necessarily go into this, but the BT12 Vmon and the turn can really set up a powerful play in order for you to bounce their threat back, which is going to be handy for you to essentially control that board. Granted, it does leave you a little bit exposed for any deletions that they're going to throw at you, because effectively you don't have any form of armor protection. So obviously use this with caution, but it is just a nice little tech here because it is searchable. We can acquire that quite easily, so this is the reason why we do run that too. You could equally run Chimeramon, but because we don't run Flamedramon, I feel like we don't get the maximum benefit of utilizing those colors in order to get Chimeramon's effect live, well, fully live, for him to essentially swing at 12k. But in essence you can do, because technically you still class his color being white in part of that equation. So that concludes for the ultimate. Obviously you can flex this however you want. Like I say, it is for fun. So rocking on to the Megas. Megas, short and sweet. We go in with the 4 Magnamon X, and then we do run the 1 Def X, being our kind of panic button, a bit of control if the board gets a little bit wide, especially if you do run against obviously Rosemon, Bloomlord, Jessmon, anything that's going to be a nuisance. This does help quite massively, that digivolve, and just freaking pop the pop level 4 or lower, massive. And then it's just a threat on the field, which just adds that bit of control. It's similar to essentially how Magnamon X is that it can be quite a incredible power play if you manage to get this boy out really early, because it means that you can essentially build up your board whilst your opponent having to deal with this. They haven't obviously climb up higher, then they still obviously swing, and obviously then that will trigger the essentially the its kind of purge, where it will, if it was to be deleted, you could avoid deletion by putting this on top of your security, which is just handy. So like I say, this deck has got a lot of stickiness. That's what Armors specializes in. It's just having that nice bit of stickiness on the field. And it's absolutely amazing recovery. Like this alone stalls out games quite a lot, and because we have a lot of Magnamon targets, it makes Awakening in the Golden Knight just even more stronger in this format, because we just got ways to essentially recur our Digimon back, protect ourselves from being DP reduced, which obviously versus Shine is quite a prevalent thing in this format. It means that we can actually still be pretty big, and Shine can't really do much about it in that sense, because we do have unlimited redirects if you have an armor or X antibody Digimon in its source. Obviously, versing Blue Flare can essentially strip out those sources, so do be careful of that, meaning that essentially you won't be able to redirect. But obviously, if you're not versing Blue Flare, this is an absolute menace on the field for sure. But you do want to be running that at 4 right there. Really helps you stall out the games if you can't quite finish the dinner. So going on to options and Tamers. So we'll go to Tamers. Tamers is pretty straightforward here, guys. It hasn't really changed since like BT8 era. So we do run the 2 Davis, which is just going to be our memory setter. Solid Searcher enable us to essentially possibly net 2 cards if we do happen to reveal Elijahmon, and also then another blue Digimon. Absolute worth. And then the main facilitator for all the shenanigans is going to be your Davis and Ken, aka DK. This is just really strong in this deck. It really helps you restand your Magnamon BT13, because that does not have an innate unsuspend, meaning that this is actually really strong enough for you to kind of restand, get your blocker live ready to go, which is handy, or effectively continue your combo quite efficiently, because we can utilize obviously Awakening the Golden Knight, which in this deck, in this kind of edition of the deck, it's going to be our way to effectively I want to say use, like, it's like a different armor texture, but costs us a lot more. But effectively what it means is that we can use the BT8 Magnamon to essentially restand itself, obviously being protected by DP reduction, but enable us to obviously extend that combo. And then if we happen to survive, we can effectively go into Magnamon X, and then we can simply just suspend our Davis and Ken, which will then restand the Magnamon X, which will then have the boost from our Magnamon, depending on obviously what our trash is looking like in regards to armor type Digimon. So once again, really strong. Also, you do gain a memory if you have a blue or blue and green Digimon. So effectively, if we do have, like I say, Digimon in the back, we can effectively gain 2 memory. But obviously, in combination with obviously our Davis and Ken, or our Davis and our Davis and Ken, we can effectively be comfortably at 4 memory. And then obviously we do have Digimon 5 memory, which is very impactful. You can do a lot with 5 memory in this deck. But that concludes for the Tamers 5 standard. So time for some spice, guys. This is where obviously it's going to be subjective, depending on obviously how you want to take it. But like I say, the whole premise of this deck is the burst element here, and it's just going really fast. But we want to make sure that we have different options in order for us to do that burst damage, instead of just kind of relying on one way of doing it, and obviously just using the fire rocket. So options, we still run the free fire rocket as standard. That's a must, definitely a must. Then we run the 2 offensive plugins. That's the spice. 3 of the Awakening of the Golden Knight, because I mean, shine is a thing. DP reduction says no to this. Obviously, because we got Magnamon targets for days, its security effect is very relevant in order for you to stall out games or be hyper aggressive next turn. We do run the free Hammer Sparks. This is going to be very helpful for us to obviously extend our plays, cover the cost of offensive plugin. Security effect can be very detrimental, because people just think Hammer Sparks just non-existent. Blam. No, Armors are still using it, still utilizing it, and basically stealing turn can cost you the game, without a doubt. And then we do run the 1 Heaven's Judgment. This could be switched for another Hammer Spark, but this has come up. It has come up in security. We still do have those big menaces that can come about, which we do need to kind of have an answer for. Armors can utilize this a lot, in just because obviously it's a multicolored deck. We can trigger its effect as many number of times, depending on how many colors are out in the field. So, you know, if we have like quite a wide board, if we do happen to have like our Digimon there as well, we can proc this 3 times, meaning that you can delete up a 18k DP Digimon, which is handy. Its security effect does obviously cap it just solidly at 12k DP, which is a bit unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. It's got to be balanced. But it was very tough for me to kind of put this to 1, but I feel like our main premise of this deck is going fast. We just need to be going fast in order for us to hopefully win fast is the main thing. So this is the reason why I have put it to 1. Obviously you can flex it however you want. Because we do have the Def X, we still kind of have like another panic button option there, depending on obviously the board state. There's a lot of decks that do play a lot of Tamers, go wide and so forth, so Def X can pretty much feast off that. But none of these are searchable, being the main thing here. So hopefully we can just kind of draw into it. This deck doesn't have a lot of draw. Fire Rocket is absolutely nice, just obviously when we do get into our armor play, we can, you know, kind of proc a Hammer Spark, gain a memory, cover the cost for that, for the Fire Rocket, and just kind of go ham. That's really sick. The reason why I've teched in 2 offensive plugins, so offensive plugin is really nice because what it enables us to, obviously our main condition, what we're trying to fulfill is getting our Tamers out on the field. That's a must. So effectively, because we've got a Tamer out, we don't have to meet its color requirements. Absolutely winning. So that means that we're able to give our Jamming V security attack +1 before we've even gone into an armor, meaning that we can just kind of go in really aggressive, because people just think, oh yeah, V-Mon, swing for 1 check, we'll allow it. No, we're going to go with offensive plugin, and we're going to swing for 2 checks. depending on obviously what tamer we do have out and what memory we do have on the field, we could simply just evo into another armor, which may be a 2 cost. Or if we say if we are at 2 memory and we just need to, you know, use a hammer spark just to effectively kind of gain 1 memory, you can go into Magnamon, unsuspend, and then swing again, do another 2 checks. So effectively you can do 4 checks with obviously starting off with Vmon, going to your armor, swinging, and so forth. So it's a matter of kind of like getting the best of both. Like sometimes kind of evoing into an armor to then use Fire Rocket is a little bit cumbersome at times. Just having just another option in order to gain security tap +1 but use it in reverse is quite nice. On top of that, its actual security effect is quite handy. If you don't happen to see your tamers, we can reveal that top 3 and we can claw a tamer from amongst them and obviously bot deck the rest. So we do obviously have ways to obviously then get tamers, which is obviously going to facilitate this. And the good thing is that we can bring this to hand. Fire Rocket you can't. Fire Rocket simply just deletes our blocker, which in this format, it's not necessarily relevant, but you never know how Black War Greymon might actually become relevant, and we do obviously have that tie tamer that does grant the blocker in that sense, so it could proc off. But the thing with this is just bringing that to hand, hopefully netting a tamer from that as well is going to be helpful for us. Waking the Golden Knight, so strong because we just have a lot more Magnamon targets. We have a total of freaking 12 Magnamon targets in this deck. This is relevant. This is going to help us massively in order to kind of stabilize game. As much as this is the Armor Burst kind of rendition of what I'm trying to fulfill, armors can do quite well defensively. It can grind out games a lot. So having this just enable us to obviously get a Magnamon from trash, really handy. Enable us to evo on top of a any armor and put a Magnamon in its name on top is really strong. Because effectively what you can do, you could actually, if I get the cards out, say that you've got, I don't know, say if you go with that, then you use this, you obviously, say if you swung, you survived, use that, you could put this armor on top for the cost of 3, you can actually restand, and then effectively, then what you can do, you could then go into this if you wanted to, or you could swing with this, that breaks, and then go into this, which then effectively you still got the DP boosts off this, and it happened to die somehow. Then you go into this, which then gives you an extra layer of protection, and even if they happen to break all of this down with say like a DP reduction, say obviously if we didn't do it this means in that sense, well technically it probably would never happen, so completely ignore that, but you get what I mean here. The amount of combinations that you can do with this is quite nice, and it's what I like, because we have more Magnamons, and I think the more that Magnamon gets printed, the stronger this card will become. So definitely run that as a free of. But that concludes for the Armor Burst profile. We're just going in, hopefully just claiming the wins quickly, but if we can't claim the wins quickly, then effectively we can grind out the game. We can grind out. We've got a lot of Digimon that gains blocker. We can be hyper aggressive with our Fire Rockets and offensive plugins. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's not tier 1. Definitely not tier 1, but it's hella fun and hella fast. But guys, if you enjoyed the deck profile, and if you do have any questions, drop it in the comments below. But guys, stay safe, stay fly, and I'll catch you next one. D-Dread off the mic.